Well, I want to welcome those who have joined us tonight for another Paper Source teleseminar, and we appreciate you being with us this evening. Our guest tonight is Martin Granoff, and I've known Marty for more years than I want to admit. Marty was, he has certainly advertised longer than anyone else in the Paper Source Journal, I can tell you that. And probably known Marty since the late 80s. So that tells you how old both of us are, I'm afraid. But Marty, he's been in the investment field since college in the early 1960s. Granoff Enterprises started in 1980, and he is an expert in purchasing all sorts of what we might call alternative cash flows, non-real estate cash flows, although he includes that in his purchasing as well. But he's really known as an expert in lottery winnings, structured settlements, contest winnings, casino prizes, lawsuit settlements, annuity payments, business notes, disability income payments, just to mention a few, and many other types as well. He has been to almost every industry convention and given workshops on every one. He's the Executive Vice President, co-founder of Cashflow Exclusive, LLC, and an alternative cash flow electronic newsletter. His website, if you want to jot this down for visiting later, and I'll mention it later, is granoffenterprises.com. That's spelled Granoff enterprises.com. So, Marty, thank you very much for taking the time to join us tonight.
Thank you, Bill. You did an outstanding introduction there.
Oh, well.
That's one of the best. I thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And
you deserve it.
I'm remembering the first time you told me I was the longest advertiser in Paper Source. I didn't hear that in a positive sense, actually. It made me feel old.
Oh, yeah, well.
It made me feel old, but then I overcame that okay, and
well,
and life goes on.
Yeah, well, that's what we all face.
Yep. I'm thrilled that you asked me to join you. I love talking about this business. We have been doing cash flows since the early 90s, starting off with when I learned about real estate notes. I was at a real estate seminar in one of the local real estate investment clubs, the RIAs. I don't know if everyone's familiar with those. And there was a speaker there talking about real estate notes, and I was just so fascinated by that. I had never knew there was any way of making money other than giving a loan and getting interest on it. And that got me introduced to the cash flow industry, and everything took off from there. And it's been a wonderful 20 years.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we've mentioned quite a few different areas at the beginning of alternative cash flows. Can you? I do have a number of questions for you. What are the income potentials for people who want to go and find these and broker them? But I think before we begin that phase of it, I do have several questions for you. If we all know what lottery winnings are, we know what casino winnings or contest winnings are, but there are a few things that might be a little confusing. What is a structured settlement?
A structured settlement is where there was a lawsuit involving either a personal injury or death situation. For example, a car accident, medical malpractice, wrongful death, where, let's say with the car accident, the car that got hit sued the people who hit them, and it was litigated for whatever time period it took, and the case got settled. And the settlement, it just was not a one-time cash payment. It was a combination of a one-time cash payment and future payments over some kind of payment schedule, whether it be monthly or once a year, or maybe one payment every 5 years, or one payment 20 years down the road, or whatever. And that's what makes it a structured settlement versus just a settlement. And there is the common link here of personal injury or death associated with that lawsuit versus a business-to-business lawsuit, where no one was sick or dying involving the lawsuit. And those future payments, the plaintiffs are usually satisfied with for a while, and then something changes in their life. They need money. They know about all that future money due them, and they seek in advance. And we buy some or all of those future payments. To do that, we need to go to court and get a court order, which is a reason why it takes 2 to 2.5 months sometimes to complete these. And that's what a structured settlement's all about. Once it's completed, we receive these future payments, and the plaintiff has been given a lump sum by us. And by the way, these payments typically come from an insurance company, a life insurance company like Metropolitan, Prudential, Hartford. So that's the payment stream that we're buying.
Okay. And so what you would be interested in is people who would be brokers who would find this type of cash flow and contact you with them. Now, what would they be expected to do? Obviously, this is something that most people don't know anything about. What would a broker be expected to do once he locates a structured settlement?
It's actually quite simple. We need very little information for quote purposes. We would just need the name of the insurance company that's making the payments, so we can make sure it's at least A-rated or better. And we need the exact payment schedule, not $500 a month for the next 5 years. We need to know the exact payment dates, months, days, years. And
so not a whole lot, just a little bit of paperwork.
Yeah,
but
very little.
You handle most of the work.
We do all the work.
On that.
Yeah.
You do all the work. Okay.
That information would be presented to us within an hour or so. We're usually able to get back with the broker with a quote of what we can pay for those future payments. We may have a question or two, but usually not. Then the broker goes back to the prospect with a lower figure. And when the prospect says, great, let's do it, the broker just made the difference between our quote and the quote the broker gave the prospect.
Okay, which brings me to the question. Obviously, everybody's interested. Are we talking about the broker can make $100 or $200 doing this, or could that be a little better?
It could and usually is a lot better. I would say typically the average fee that a broker would be making would be in the area of $1,000, but we've had some over the years who've earned less, and we've had some bonanzas. I mean, the one that always comes to mind when I'm asked this question is a broker out in Colorado who brought us a California lottery, and he made himself a shade over $200,000. One
wow.
shot, not bad.
But that doesn't happen very often, right?
No, it doesn't. No, but we've had a reasonable number of $50,000 fees that have been earned.
Okay.
So
well, you have.
That's
a tremendous amount of money, and that's knowing that it is possible and has been done is pretty exciting.
I want people to expect that, obviously, but it's not impossible.
No, I would encourage people to know that this is not an infomercial. This is not something that you don't have to get out of bed and you'll make $50,000. You do have to do work. Probably the hardest thing I would think is finding the prospects. Am I right?
That's the hardest part of, I think, the cash flow business in general, is it not?
Okay. All right. Well, it certainly is in real estate notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you deal in all sorts of these different cash flows, which most investors don't deal in. Structured settlements, as I mentioned, lotteries, contest winnings, casino winnings. All these what they have in common, which are future payments. So you're buying an income stream, a future income stream from the winner of the casino jackpot or the contest or whatever it might be.
Right.
So it's in that way it's like a real estate note. You're buying a future stream of payments.
Except it may not be monthly like a real estate note would be.
Okay.
But yes, otherwise same concept.
All right. Do you find that the people, the brokers that bring these to you, whether it's contest, casino, structured settlement, do they pretty much use the same methods of finding prospects?
That's a good question, Bill. I know there's a method that I suggest to brokers for finding structured settlements because it seems like such a direct way of doing it. Would you like me to explain that one?
Yes, I think we'd be interested in that.
All right. The typical prospect, or let's call him a plaintiff now, who's receiving those payments, when the time comes and he needs some extra money, usually the first call he'll make is to the attorney who handled the original lawsuit for him. And he'll ask that attorney, is there any way that I can get some acceleration here, or get a loan on the future payments, or however he might word it. And that's why the personal injury litigating attorney is the ideal person to solicit for possible business. And I recommend to anyone who asks me that making calls to personal injury attorneys and simply saying that the next time they get a call from one of their existing structured settlement clients who's looking to sell some future payments, to refer them to that broker or to me or whoever's making the calls, because I represent investors who buy those kinds of future payments. And I don't see a way of getting any closer to finding structured settlement annuitants than through the attorneys who structured these in the first place.
Okay. So the attorneys would be the key to
personal injury attorneys, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a referral fee involved that you offer to or a person?
Never do that. We handle that in that we like his client to be represented by an attorney in his dealings with us. So who's the client going to use? He'll use this attorney, and this attorney can pick up some hourly billing. We do not offer any payment. I don't even know if it's legal to do that or morally right to do that, and we've never done that.
Okay.
We just bring up the fact that when his client decides to do it, we're going to want that client to be represented by an attorney, and the obvious choice this client will have is to use this attorney. So he's picking up some more fees from a client of a closed case of maybe 20 years ago. All of a sudden he's making more money from that client.
Okay. Let me interject, and if anyone has any questions that you'd like Marty to respond to, please email them to me, WJM, as in Michael, or as in Mincaro, if you will, WJM at papersourceonline.com, or you can use WJM at cashflows.org. I'll get either one, and I will take them on the air as much as we can. You also deal with some other rather unusual purchases, contest winnings, casino winnings. Can you tell us a little bit about how those work, Marty?
Sure. We enjoy working with those. The casino wins usually involve the progressive slot machines, where people are winning $1 million plus on a slot machine, where those prizes come about because they tie in hundreds, maybe even thousands of slot machines in a single pool. So when somebody hits, they're able to win some big numbers. And these slot machines are, most of them at least, are run by a company called International Game Technology, otherwise known as IGT. They're the ones that run those games and make those future payments. So when somebody wins on these big games, sometimes they're offered either a lump sum prize or a payout, their choice, or sometimes they're only offered a payout. And many times when they're offered a payout, they're not too happy about that. Or they're okay for the first year or 2 or 3 or 5, and then, by the way, it's a 20-year payout. So we'll buy some or all those future payments, and now we're dealing with counting on IGT to make those payments versus Prudential, Metropolitan, Hartford. So it's a little different animal, but still very doable, and we're still quite comfortable with that.
So that's interesting. So all the casinos have an agreement with IGT?
Almost all. Yeah. If they have the progressive slots, and most casinos that I've ever heard of and I've ever been in, which has not been many, have progressive slot machines. And I think if you look at it somewhere on there, IGT will be identified. That IGT manages that for the casinos.
Well, I suppose I can be shameless here and do a little plug, but I imagine those of us who are going to be at the Paper Source Note Symposium in Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
We can do a little research on that, can't we?
Absolutely. Sure can. In fact, I think I've seen it there years ago. I think I happened to see it there.
Okay.
So that's the typical casino situation that we come across, and we do quite a few of those a year. And also we have, what's interesting is a lot of times the winners will sell off 3 payments and then come back and sell off 2 more and then come back and sell off 5 more. And we just finished one. It was the 6th time he's come back to the well. I mean, it's amazing. And he still has payments left.
So
the broker who brought us that has been getting these fees like found money, you know.
So for those who don't quite get that, in other words, he'll say, okay, I'll sell you my next 5 payments or my next 10 payments that I've won, but I'm going to keep the rest of them for now. And then later on he comes back and you give him a lump sum of money, and then you get those payments, or your investor gets those payments.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and
then he comes
don't
back
the brokers
and
then
more.
That sounds like a continuing source of cash flow for the broker as well.
It is. Yep. I mean,
So
that happens with real estate notes to a degree, and it happens with other kinds of notes, but it just seems to happen a lot more, at least in our experience, with the casino wins.
So this is really a way for a note broker to create a continuing stream of income, not just to sell one time and get a check, but over.
If their client does a partial, yes, and most of them do partials. Okay. And that automatically sets them up for a second partial and a third partial, and in this specific case, it was a 6th partial, and he still has more payments to go.
No kidding.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, because he seems to do like 2 payments, 1 payment, 3 payments, and we caught him pretty early in the game, so he's getting 20 payments. Mm-hmm. So this can go on for a while.
If anyone has any questions, please email them to me, and I will ask Marty, wjm@papersourceonline.com or wjm@cashflows.org.
Bill, you asked about the contest winnings.
Yes, I did.
There is something where people, they probably hear it on the radio and see it on TV and never even think about a possible cash flow acquisition prospect. But so many games on TV where the prize is $1 million or more is paid out over time. It's not a lump sum payment. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I'm going blank, but there's a couple other very popular shows and some former shows that had big prizes, and it's paid out over time. Some businesses like McDonald's, like Levi Strauss, like Pillsbury, they've had contests where the winners are $1 million or more and are paid out over time. So these are all possibilities, and when one keeps their ears and eyes open and hears about winners like that, one of the first things I think about is following up with these people, but I don't. I wait for brokers to do that. And if I don't hear from them in about 2 weeks, then I'm on it.
Okay. And again, can you give us some stories about brokers you worked with and situations, whether they're contests or casinos or lotteries, and what happened, and as far as how lucrative was it for the broker themselves?
I don't remember, Bill, any specific numbers other than that real big one, because that was really worth remembering. But, I mean, I'm thinking of a broker. There was if people remember, there was a period years ago where McDonald's had a big contest going, and the company that was running the contest for them was scamming the game. And members of the company were arranging who the winners were going to be. And there was a big scandal and bad press, and McDonald's looked pretty crappy as a result of that. And so to try to get their footing again, they held another contest, this one they ran themselves, where they just sent out company executives across the country to different McDonald's stores. And they decided they would pick a time where the next person walking in the door would win $1 million. They didn't have to do anything. And in South Florida, somebody walked into a McDonald's, a street person, and won $1 million. And there was a broker who lived near, lived in a city where this happened, and he followed up and found out where the homeless person was staying at a hotel right across the street from McDonald's, and actually got to meet him. And making a long story short, we bought twice from that homeless person and got him off the street. And hopefully he's still off the street. You know, sometimes we're not able to follow them long to know if they really benefited from their prize. But it was a very aggressive and intent broker here who was determined to follow through, and he did, and we made some nice sales there.
Again, if you have any questions for Marty, please email him, wjm@papersourceonline.com. That's WJM as in Michael, at papersourceonline.com, or wjm@cashflows.org. One of the questions that have come in is someone wonders if they can partner with you on the investment rather than, apparently what I get from that is that they're asking, instead of just getting a broker's, what I would call a broker's commission, they're saying instead of going to the prospect and offering a lower price and taking the spread, can there be some sort of partnership arrangement?
You know, we've never done that, Bill, but I don't see why not. I mean, like a back-end participation, for example, if the numbers could work.
Explain what you mean.
Like we see in real estate notes, where we might be able to buy 240 payments, 20 years worth of payments, and we would only be interested in buying 180 of those, and the rest maybe the broker could keep.
Okay.
I mean, we've never done it. That doesn't mean it can't be done.
So you're open to being flexible on something like that?
Sure.
Okay. Right. Okay. Marty is going to be teaching at our Paper Source Note Symposium in April 26 and 27, and he's going to be teaching along with a number of other teachers at our symposium. And what I've told several people is what you get is a lot of good teaching and education. What you don't get is sales pitches. We don't pitch, going to a boot camp or, pitch all these different things and products. Some people have advanced training available, but we don't. It's a no sales pitches environment. So we'd like to invite you to attend that. That's April 26th and 27th in Las Vegas. We have a super early bird price on that of $269 instead of $395, and that super early bird expires tonight. So, and we have a generous cancellation policy on that, so you're not risking anything. You can cancel up to shortly before the event and get your money back. So it's really a kind of a no-risk deal. Take a look at it at papersourceseminars.com and decide if you want to join us, and I think it's going to be tremendous. We've been, quite honestly, this is not hype. This is very true. We've been flooded with. I've been amazed at the number of people who have signed up for this event, and we're getting more and more. We got several today. We got a whole bunch yesterday, and it's very, very exciting, and it's beyond what I expected, to be honest with you. So,
Bill, can I add something here?
Yes, sir.
Are you still? Yeah. Did I hear that you're only doing one session at a time, so there's no choices to make here? Everybody gets the full scoop from each instructor. That's
how we're structuring it. That's
correct,
Mark.
Terrific.
Yeah, it's
very nice.
Yeah, we've done different ways of doing things, and we've had multiple sessions going on at one time, and this way everybody gets everything from every instructor. And it's a teaching. And anybody who knows Paper Source, I hope you know, we teach. We're all about teaching, not about selling a bunch of stuff. We've got a bunch of questions coming in. Anyway, that's papersourceseminars.com, and I'll end my ad there. Question that came in: how do you find casino night notes?
Tough. Newspapers, when you read an article, somebody won the casino prize. Usually they'll even mention progressive slot. Follow up that way. Otherwise, we don't really know any way of prospecting for that, other than catching in the newspaper or on the radio.
We're hanging around the casinos and watching for winners.
I don't know how fortunate. I remember somebody was saying they were going to hang around a lottery ticket machine at Publix that people come up and buy the tickets from, hoping to find somebody who's going to be a winner. So I don't know how efficient that is.
That doesn't sound like a good theory to me.
Good use of time, I don't think. No. So that's most of these cash flows are things that you fall into. Some of them you can actively prospect for, like the structured settlements, the lottery winnings. Sometimes there are lists available from the lottery commissions. You won't have their addresses, but you'll have names, city where they won, how much they won, when they won, whether they took it as an installment or lump sum. And it's a starting point for tracking them down. Not easy, but it's doable. And that's how we got started in the business.
Next question. Do you need a license? Email question here. Do you need a license to do structured settlements?
No.
Okay. Good short answer.
To the point.
Yeah, if you have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, we're not selling insurance. We're not buying insurance. We're dealing in a cash flow here. The original agent who sold that annuity had to be licensed, but in the resale market, no such licensing is required.
Okay. Do you purchase non-performing notes?
I think I may have talked to you about this a while back. Maybe not, Bill. I had one experience of buying a portfolio of 5 of them. And even though we made money with it, it was just so much aggravation, and it just was not a pleasant experience. I didn't like the people we were dealing with. Most of them who we could reach were really in distress, and I don't think we would do it again.
Okay.
We did it and had the experience, and that was about it.
Well, it's an interesting question. It was an email question, and I would respond to Rich, who did email it in. This is one of the really interesting things about this whole cash flow note business. Everybody does something differently. I mean, you'll talk to somebody who says, yeah, I love non-performing. I mean, Gordon Moss, for example, loves non-performing second liens, and he doesn't like non-performing first liens. And Gordon, by the way, will be teaching at the Paper Source Symposium. So, but you see all sorts of different people. Everybody. You go to Paper Source events. You meet people, and virtually everybody you meet says, "Well, I do it this way," and it's totally different than the last person you talked to. And yet they're all making money and do. And it's just so interesting. That's. I'm glad you gave your perspective on that, Marty. Other people would say, casino winnings? Are you kidding me? I'm not going to do with that. So that's what makes it interesting.
Yep.
James, I don't understand your question. He's interested in an attorney, and I don't really know what you mean. So if you want to email back a little more explanation, if you want an attorney referral, or not really sure what that question means. Brandon says, thank you. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So I thought I might just bring up quickly about disability income payments, sort of a new area.
Oh, please. And you're going to be teaching that at the symposium, are you not?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Just something that we had always ruled out, because one of the problems with disability income payments is the payments stop when the person dies. There's no guaranteed feature of future payments for any time period, strictly for life. And we can't go ahead and buy 10 years of payments. If the person was to die on us in 5 years, the payments would stop. So it took us a little while to be able to figure out that if the person didn't have existing life insurance, and if they were insurable, we could sell them new insurance. We could have the life insurance policy take over when the disability income policy ceased. So if the person lived 5 years and we got payments from the disability income company, and then for the next 5 years that we didn't get from the disability income company, we could get based on a collateral assignment, or what we call a super beneficiary, on the life insurance policy. So we get paid off lump sums from the life insurance policy. So tying that together, it turns to a very sweet deal. Very nice.
That's a great idea.
When it works.
Did you come up with that idea yourself, Marty?
Maybe talking with some others, trying to figure out how can we do this. There must be some way to make this doable.
Well, you're being modest. Now you're being modest.
And then a right
Okay.
case, a right opportunity came along, and we did it. And hey, this is great. And then a second one and a third one, and so we're enjoying those.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm sure. That's a great way to handle that. To look at something, and you look at a situation that, well, this is not workable, and then you say, well, how about this? So congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. Thanks.
Another question. Again, questions we're taking by email very quickly because we don't have a whole lot of time left. WJM@papersourceonline.com. WJM is in Michael @papersourceonline, all one word, .com. Question. Can someone purchase these cash flows you're talking about through a self-directed IRA if they're an individual investor?
I would say about half of our personal portfolio is in our IRA and Roth IRA. So the answer is yes.
All right. And another question. I know every deal is different. Can you give an example of what type of cash flow numbers one could get with a $40,000 investment? For a person who's has $40,000 as to invest.
Impossible to give an answer to that, Bill.
Impossible. I'm sorry. What?
Impossible to give an answer to that. I mean, number one, we're not looking for any investors, fortunately. Number two, I mean, it's all based on the type of cash flow that's being bought. It could that 40,000 might. If I had the 40 and an opportunity came along where it was a $200,000 payment due 15 years from now, I haven't worked out yields on that. I can't do that quickly in my head, but that could be something I'd put the 40 in. And thus I'd invest 40. I wouldn't get a penny for 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden get the lump sum.
Okay, understood.
So, yeah, I mean, the yields are all reasonable yields. We're not raping anybody because we're dealing with cash flows that, in most cases, that are quite dependable. Right. So it's a win-win for everybody.
And the sellers, I think people should understand that it's just like in real estate notes or any other situation where you sell a future cash flow. This isn't something you're holding a gun to somebody's head. You're saying, look, you're getting X number of dollars per month for the next X number of months. And if you want to continue to get that, great, fine. But if you would like a lump sum of cash now, instead of getting that monthly amount, then that's what we're offering you. And people have a lot of reasons to want to do that. One is, for example, how dependable is that future income stream? Now, in some of the cases that you're dealing with, Marty, it's very dependable with casino winnings and that kind of thing. With real estate notes, with some of the other areas, you're depending upon somebody to have a job and to write a check every month and send it to you. And
pay their real estate taxes and monthly maintenance and whatever. Yeah.
There you are. So that's a real incentive. Tom Henderson has taught me a lot, and he writes for the Paper Source. And
good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, he is. Isn't that right? And Tom mentioned he hopes to come to be at the seminar, and we can learn a lot from him. But in the April symposium. But Tom taught me that what you're buying is really a promise to pay, and what the person is selling is a promise to pay. It's not a guaranteed cash flow like a lot of things you deal with, Marty. It's not a guaranteed cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember I started in the business, as I mentioned, with real estate notes, and about a year and a half, 2 years afterwards, came up with the idea of doing the same thing with lottery winners. And when I saw how to do it with lottery winners, I said, man, this is a different animal. I mean, these payments, I don't have to worry about anything here. Payments are here on time, exactly when they're supposed to be. I don't have to follow up. Did the guy do this? Did the guy do that? It's all automatic. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I remember those thoughts went through my mind when we started with the lotteries.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, any of us who've owned real estate notes, or if you ever owned or you do own rental property, you realize, you're at the mercy of that person having enough money and deciding they want to spend the money or invest the money, or however you want to put it, on paying their mortgage or paying their rent instead of as one renter told a friend of mine, when my friend was a landlord, said, "Why didn't you pay your rent this month?" He said, "Well, Mama and me ran out of smokes and beer." So that's why they didn't pay.
Yeah,
so there you go. Okay, good question. Someone wants to get a hold of you, and I will send this to you right away, Marty. He has a disability income stream. How does he get a hold of you? Why don't you go ahead and answer that for everybody else?
Well, the email address would be Granoff. That's GRAN like Nancy, OFF like Frank, at granofenterprises.com, or through the website, which is granofenterprises.com, and give me some of the details, and I'll follow up first thing tomorrow.
Okay. Well, we may have a disability income stream coming from this call. And I will forward this to you as well, Marty.
Thank you, Bill.
Question came in: have you ever done courthouse research to find court settlements, lawsuit settlements?
No, but I'm aware of some others who have. Okay. And a lot of cases are settled before ever going to court, so they wouldn't even show up in the courthouse. Okay. But I do know of some people who do spend some time researching the courthouses to find the structured settlement cases. So it's doable. I've never done it.
Do you think a better way to do that, or in addition to that, would be to make personal contacts with personal injury attorneys?
Yes. I mean, it's a good combination. I put more effort into the phone calls than doing courthouse research.
Okay. Phone calls or...
Phone calls, yeah. I think phone calls works fine. Phone calls to personal injury attorneys, yeah.
Just now, let's get really specific, because when I go to seminars and hear all sorts of great things, and then go home and next morning I've got to go to work on this and use the ideas, and it gets down to the nitty gritty. Do you actually just pick up the phone and make a cold call to
yes.
to a personal injury attorney that you don't know have any
yes.
contact with at all?
Yep.
You do. And how do
well, I haven't. This is how I started in the business. I haven't done this lately, but I sort of test it sometimes when I need some information from an attorney. I'll call the law firm without going into any detail to just see if I have any problems getting through to the attorney. And I never have any problems getting through. But typically, one would call the attorney. The person answering the phone will say, "Okay, Mr. Mancaro, why are you calling? What do you want from the attorney?" And the response could be, "I'm calling him regarding his structured settlement clients." Now, most likely, this person on the phone doesn't even know what the person's talking about, and get put through. But sometimes you won't get put through, and it's just a game of numbers. Those you don't get through, just go down the list.
Well, that's very, very valuable information, Marty. So you just make a cold call to attorneys and say, I'm calling about your structured settlement clients.
And I say, do you have any structured settlement clients? So you either say yes or no. If he says yes, then I'll say, the next time you get a call from one of your existing structured settlement clients who's looking to get an advance on their future payments, please refer them to me, because I buy those kinds of cash flows. Or a broker could say, I represent investors who buy those kinds, who acquire, I don't like the word buy, who purchase or acquire those kind of cash flows. And if he says, no, I don't, well, you may someday. And if you do, then the rest of the spiel. We know that one's not going to get through to every attorney you call. but you'll get through to more than you're not. And if you sound confident and do it diligently, a couple hours a day, every day, it's got to work. Because there's thousands, there's hundreds of thousands. I don't think anybody knows how many structured settlement cases there are out there. I just know that there's a lot of brokers in the field and a decent number of investors like us, and there appears to be enough business for everybody.
Well, it's my perspective. It's pretty much an untapped market. I mean, there are some people out there doing that, but as brokers, but not many.
I don't know.
No. What about these lawyers that advertise on TV about if you've been injured in an accident, this kind of thing?
That's the kind of lawyer that you want to contact. And the ones who advertise on the back of the phone book, on the front page of the phone book, if anyone still has a phone book, front page, inner cover, where they have the full big ads. That's a good starting point. Actually, a good starting point would be personal injury attorneys that you know, or any attorneys that you know who, in their firms, also have personal injury staff there. That's a good starting point.
Or contacts that they have just being attorneys.
That's right.
Friends of theirs.
Yep.
Okay, good. What are you going to teach at the Note Symposium in Las Vegas in April?
I'm just going to turn a recording on of this conversation, if I can get away with that. We'll just go into greater detail about the mechanics of how these things work, and more ideas about prospecting for other kinds of cash flow. And I could talk and write for hours on this, days, I think, on this stuff. It's so fascinating, and many times I say, I wish I got into this 50 years ago, not 20. It's just such an interesting and exciting business for us.
Yeah. And how can people get in touch with you, Marty?
Toll free, 800-869-6060. And again, the email address, I'll refer you to the website, granoffenterprises.com.
Okay, GRANOF as in Frank, F as in Frank, enterprises.com. And that's all one word, granoffenterprises.com.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Again, Marty is going to be joining us April 26 and 27 in Las Vegas. Please go to Paper Source Seminars. Again, that's all one word, papersourceseminars.com. Tonight we're ending our super early bird special. Discount registration for that. But again, we have a generous cancellation policy, so it's we want to do that. I mean, if April's a long time from now, and if you run into some situation, and who knows whether you can attend a seminar at the end of April or not at this point, but so we say, hey, if you can't, you can't, and we understand that. So, and we give you your money back. So you can look at that at papersourceseminars.com, and we'd appreciate your registration because it helps us out with telling a hotel about how many people we're going to have. And we're getting a good number of people registering. It really, as I mentioned, surprises me that we'd have so many this early, which tells me we're going to have a great, not only, I know we're going to have great teaching, but we're also going to have great networking. I know at least half of the people I know, if not more, are really first-class note brokers and note investors, and they've done the business for many years. I've been looking at the names that have come in and registering for the symposium, and this is going to be it's going to be some kind of event, let me tell you. And we've got sponsors for 2 luncheons. Investors Financial just today is going to be sponsoring a sit-down waiter-served lunch for us, and it's on Friday. Amerifunds is doing the same thing, so we have sponsored lunches both days. We've got breakfast sponsored by Brownstone Mortgage Investment, and Marty is Granoff Enterprises is sponsoring coffee on Friday morning. So for $269, you get all this training plus you get fed too. And so this is a deal and a half. I'd probably just go for the food, but you also get all the things.
I can eat that up easy.
Exactly. So again, that's papersourceseminars.com if you want to get on the super early bird special tonight. And if you want to think about it, fine. It'll cost a few bucks more, about $40 more or something after tonight. But
Bill, I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think over all these years, I've only missed one of your get-togethers, and it was because of a hurricane.
Oh, wow.
I've never missed an event of yours, including the Note Boat.
Yeah, the Note Boat.
Yeah.
We used to do cruises, and we called it the Note Boat.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And our conventions in the 90s, we did, as Marty says, we did a whole bunch of conventions in the Washington, D.C. area in the 1990s, and we had hundreds of people and speakers and the Capitol Steps and all sorts of stuff going on, including President Clinton and the Pope. Do you remember that, Marty?
For the Capitol Steps.
And the Capitol Steps as well.
Oh, that's what you did. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, enough from me.
You do a first-class job, Bill.
Well, you're very nice. Thank you, Marty. I appreciate that.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, go to Marty's, again, Martin Granoff. Marty Granoff's website is Granoff, Granoff, as in Frank, F as in Frank, Granoff Enterprises, all one word, .com. And thank you again, Marty. We'll thank you so much for the very, very interesting time.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Very educational. And we'll see you in April at the symposium.
Great. Thanks all. Thanks all for listening.
Bye-bye.
Okay, good night.